Welcome, everybody. I hope you can all hear me. This is a safe place. We've implemented a few security measures, so no one can unmute themselves unless the host gives them permission. But throughout this webinar, I want you to participate, to stay active, and just use the raise hand button. So, and that's at the bottom of your window, so look it up. So again, welcome everybody to develop your 6 higher mental faculties. Now, if you were here at our previous webinar, you will notice major improvements, and it's what we aim for every time. I must congratulate you if you're here again, by the way, because being exposed to this information as much as you can will accelerate that development enormously. We've got people from across the country today and maybe from other countries. Write on the chat what city or country you're from. Let me see if I can see the chat here. And I'm hoping that you do have access to the chat. Yes, from Turkey. All right. I love Turkey. I've been there, by the way. Toronto. I'm from Mississauga, Montreal, London, Ontario, Canada, Toronto. I'm from Mississauga. We have people from the US. We've had people in the past from Dubai. Amazing. In fact, I'm thinking of creating a private Facebook group so that all of us like-minded individuals here can share insights and connect with each other inside of a safe space and away from outside influences. And I'm going to ask of you to, many times I'm going to ask of you to write things on the chat because I will read this chat afterwards, and it makes a big difference. We've got people from New Brunswick. It will make a difference. I read them all, and it helps the improvement of this program as a whole. But if you let me know, yes, I'm in for Facebook, that will help me organize it and then contact you directly to make this Facebook group. So let's get right to it. I'm excited to have each of you here today. In the next hour or so, we're going to explore insights and techniques to live the life of your dreams by design. It works by law, and you were born with these faculties, your higher mental faculties. We can also refer to them as our mental muscles, our mental tools, our intellectual factors, and so on. Now, I have been studying these ideas on and off. I'm going to repeat that. I've been studying these ideas on and off for more than 30 years. Interestingly, my results have also been on and off. So many of you have seen or have experienced in their lives on and off results or on and off successes. It was just over 4 years ago that I made a conscious decision to study this subject every single day. Every single day. I've done this now without fail, and I've also started to experience consistent positive results because of doing this every single day. And things just keep getting better and better. I'm talking about going from being in constant debt to finding financial freedom, not being to commit to a relationship. And perhaps the most important is being able to forgive, to let go and live a truly happy, fulfilling, wealthy, and healthy life. Now, the most amazing part of this is that there is no cap on the growth you can achieve. It is infinite, and that is the reason why the knowledge and application of these ideas will take you to places that are beyond your wildest dreams. Now, this could be the most important thing I'm going to tell you today, and I will say it right at the beginning. You need to find a way to stay exposed to these ideas every single day of your life. This is the key to developing your mental faculties and using them to live the life you really love. I've experienced it. I'm telling you this from experience. So, in the pursuit of personal growth and success, developing your mental tools is essential. I'm always amazed that we're not taught about this stuff in school. In fact, the way our society has evolved may be part of the problem. Thankfully, humanity has found a way to share this knowledge for centuries, and many of us have been listening. You are listening. My mentor, Bob Proctor, was able to package it into digestible portions. And I'm here to share this information. But it seems that it is only available for those ready to receive it. You are ready to receive it because you're here. You were born with a perfect memory, despite what you may currently believe. Perfect memory. You were born with the ability to change your perception and to really think for yourself through reason. Your imagination, it's the workshop to design your success, and your intuition will guide you through life without any doubts. And the will helps you stay laser focused on your goal. Together, these mental faculties work in concert to serve as the foundation upon which you can consciously build your life and shape your destiny as you see fit. Ultimately, developing your higher mental faculties is not just about acquiring general knowledge, it's about using them in concert to harness the power of our minds to create the life we envision by design, by law, and not by luck or chance. As we delve deeper into it today, we'll discover how they serve as the key to opening up infinite potential and to living a life of purpose, passion, and abundance. But most importantly, please continue staying close to this information. Most people believe that reading a book once or going to a seminar once, you're in this webinar this once, is good enough. And then we can move on to something else. This cannot be further from the truth. As I suggested a minute ago, the magic key is to commit to this daily. I truly believe this is the most important lesson I learned from my mentor. When you read or listen to the same information a second time, you don't see something in it that was not there before. You see something in yourself that wasn't there before. And every time after that, you're taking in the knowledge from a higher level of awareness. I remember when I was told that, I didn't know what that meant. After many, many years of doing this, I know what it means. A higher level of consciousness, a higher level of consciousness. Okay, so some housekeeping. I want you to take full advantage of this relatively short amount of time we have together. Make sure there are no distractions around you. In fact, write this down. And if you don't have a notebook, I'm going to give you a couple of seconds to get a notebook and a pen, because writing down stuff is more important than we could possibly imagine. Write this down. You hear with your ears, but you listen with your emotions. You hear with your ears, but you listen with your emotions. Get emotionally involved with the ideas that resonate with you, that you're going to listen to today. And those that don't immediately accept them. I'm going to give you that much. But don't immediately reject them. And definitely don't neglect them. Now, I'll be stopping at times to answer questions. So write your questions down for those times and use the raise hand feature of your Zoom at the bottom of the window. If you can't see the raise hand, I think in some windows you see 3 dots. You can go into those dots, and then there's a menu, and you should be able to see the raise hand. And that's when we get to questions. I'll bring it up at that moment, time for questions. So you're going to use the raise hand button for that. Now, I may not be able to get to the questions asked on the chat tonight, but I will answer them for sure directly to you by email before the end of the week. Just make sure that your full name appears on the chat so I know who to reply to. So this is a public event, and we want this to become an enjoyable experience for everyone. So for this reason, the unmute feature has been disabled. However, if you do, like I said, a question or comment, simply use the raise hand feature and I will unmute you during the time of the conversation. Feel free to turn on your video camera if you'd like. For your privacy, only the host can see your video, and even if you speak, which I encourage tonight, nobody else will be able to see. So I would highly encourage you to ask questions or provide comments. You will benefit from this in more ways that you can possibly imagine, beyond getting your questions answered. So before we even talk about our mental tools, it is very important that we can visualize what it is within us that we are going to change. It's one thing to know about our mental tools, but the real magic starts when we know why we are strengthening them and what exactly these tools are doing to our bodies, in our environment around us. The thing is, we cannot see many of the things that contribute to our progress as it is happening. We are accustomed to judging our world only through our physical senses. Write in the chat if you did not receive the pre-webinar videos on our 5 physical senses. Let me see if I can see something there on the chat. I think everybody received them, but if you did not get the email, let me know on the chat and I will resend them. So watch these videos a few times after this webinar as part of your training. Trust me when I say a few times, this may seem counterintuitive right now, and perhaps the only way for you to realize the importance of this is to experience it for yourself. So let's create an image of the mind. Again, please write on the chat. And I'm going to say this many times. I read this chat afterwards, by the way. How many of you think of the brain when I ask you to think of the mind? Write brain in the chat if you thought of the brain. Yes, Jerry. Brain. Thank you, guys. I certainly raised my hand when I first heard that question. The real eye opener was when I learned that the brain is not the mind. The brain is certainly a marvelous organ, an electronic switching station, if you will. The mind, on the other hand, is an activity. So, for us to properly study and use the mind, including its 6 mental muscles, we must first create an image of the mind. And we have Dr. Thurman Fleet to thank for creating that image for us back in the 30s. This image has helped countless millions of people around the world ever since. It's a simple image, and don't let the simplicity of this exercise fool anyone. It's called the stick person, and I will now show you what it looks like. So I'm going to actually share my screen. So we will start with this big circle you see here, and we'll call this circle the mind. Then we draw a horizontal line in the middle of the circle. Underneath the big circle, we draw a smaller one. We call that smaller one the body. Then we connect the 2 circles with a vertical line, and we're going to call the top section of the big circle the conscious mind, and the bottom section the subconscious mind. So simple enough so far, right? But like I said earlier, don't let the simplicity of this exercise fool anyone. This is a powerful tool, and you will realize this in due time. I'm talking about helping companies grow their revenues by hundreds of millions of dollars throughout the decades. Now, we're going to draw 5 little antennas on top of the conscious mind. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to call these antennas our physical senses. Keyword here, physical. We can smell with our nose, we can taste with our tongue and mouth, we can hear with our ears, we can see with our eyes, and we can touch with our skin. If you watch the video on the law of vibration, we talked about everything. We talked about how everything vibrates and how vibrations are also known as frequencies. We'll talk about this a bit later. For now, just know that there's an invisible world that we cannot perceive with our physical senses, but we know it exists. These frequencies are traveling in and out of our physical senses, allowing us to communicate with the outer world and with other people. You are looking at me and hearing me through frequencies traveling through the medium of the molecule. And the same thing happens when we smell, taste, and touch. Now, when we were born, we did not have our higher mental faculties developed. And the overwhelming majority of human beings were programmed to exist, to think, and to operate solely through our physical senses. In other words, we were programmed to give priority only to what we can smell, what we can taste, what we can hear, see, and touch. We were programmed to regard our physical world and to neglect the invisible world. This is how we first developed our habits, the way we think about the world, the things we do, the moment that we wake up in the morning and go to bed at night, our beliefs about ourselves, how weak or strong we believe we are. You're just like your father or your mother. That is bad for you. You can't do that. Be realistic. This program started to shape our neural network and our reality, the reality that we perceive. And soon enough, our entire body was vibrating in harmony with this program. This program is now a complex set of habits known as conditioning, most recently known as our paradigm. And our paradigm is vibrating in harmony with every single cell in our body. Ultimately, this is what is creating the results we experience today in our lives. Now, let this R represent the results in your life. Much of this happened before we even had our higher faculties developed. Notice how in this picture, our higher faculties are attached to our conscious mind. We have 6 higher mental faculties. We have perception, reason, imagination, intuition, memory, and the will. This is the invisible or spiritual part of our personality. Few of us were ever purposely thought about these faculties. And by the time we had the ability to reason, some may have developed more than others, and others had become weak, and in some cases, practically neglected. In fact, in most cases, our paradigm actually controls the way we use these faculties. In other words, our paradigm controls us instead of us controlling our paradigm. The good news is that these higher faculties are our mental muscles, and we can learn to develop these mental muscles just like we are able to develop any of our physical muscles through exercise. Even better news is the fact that these are the muscles we use to reprogram our paradigm so that ultimately our body is going to vibrate in harmony with the new program that we give it. And it is our physical body that is going to generate the results that we are looking for. Eventually, all good things will happen, even without us having to think about it consciously, because we've created a new paradigm. In fact, our subconscious mind will take care of it for us automatically so that we can now move on to the next best thing. We can use our mental muscles to rewire our brain. I think I mentioned this before. Neuroplasticity. Write that down. Neuroplasticity. Now, let's talk about our faculties individually. These faculties are the hallmark of human potential, setting us apart from the animal kingdom. Properly used and developed, they grant us tremendous control over our lives and our destinies. As mental muscles, some may seem stronger or weaker than others, but each has the capacity for immense growth and power. And contrary to the belief that we are born imperfect, we are born inherently perfect. From the moment we enter this world, we have the ability to develop all our mental faculties to their fullest potential. It is only due to external influences that often lead us to believe otherwise. This notion of imperfection stems from a narrow view of ourselves as purely physical beings. Yet, when we shift our perspective from our external circumstances to our internal essence, we realize the potential within us. Now, I'm going to open up the floor for anyone to participate. If you have any questions so far or any comments, this is part of the whole process of exercising your mental muscles. You can speak out loud your thoughts. That's okay. Don't feel pressured. Give you a couple of minutes to think about it. And if not, you can also put your questions on the chat. Think about participating within the next hour. Okay, beautiful. Some water, and we're going to go to the first mental faculty. Share the screen. Okay. So I'm going to also, at the end of this, I'm going to ask you to comment or ask. So what I'm encouraging is to get emotionally involved with this information. See what you can pick up on. So we're going to talk about reason. It's the first mental faculty. And I'm not going to list our higher faculties in any particular order. Reason is our ability to think. Look at this quote. 2% of the people think. 3% of the people think they think, and 95% of people would rather die than think. When I heard this for the first time, I mean, it took me a while to understand this when I first was exposed to it. What Mr. McFarland is saying here is that most of us are on autopilot. We don't even realize it. People say, oh, but I'm thinking all the time. What do you mean? You see, mental activity does not constitute thinking, and our paradigm controls our thinking. What if I told you that you can make in 1 month what you have been making in 1 year? Most people would reject that idea because of what is programmed in their paradigm. But of course, this is not just about money, it's about the power of our thoughts and the need for us to control them. See, our mental faculty, reason, is about controlling our thoughts. Our thoughts are powerful magnetic forces. They have tangible effects on our bodies, our environment, and the people. When we think, we are generating powerful electromagnetic waves capable of traveling outside our bodies and into our environment. Not to mention the fact that our thoughts are constantly generating signals that communicate with every fiber of our being, and much of it is happening unconsciously. Think about this. Imagine you are alone in the woods. It's getting dark, and you're unsure of the right path to your exit, and you hear noises, and it sounds like a pack of wolves. You know your heart is going to start beating faster than normal. You're in survival mode. Then you find out it was nothing. But what made your heartbeat go faster, though? Your thoughts, the thought of wolves, an imagined reality. It works the same way outwards. The same amount of energy that you put out is the energy you're going to get back in. We will attract what we think about, good or bad. The subconscious mind cannot tell the difference. Here's another idea we're not used to hearing. The less effort, the faster and more powerful you will be. When done properly, your greatest achievements will not even take much effort. I recommend this book to understand what Bruce means by less effort. I have no connections to this book except I have read it many times. And it's recommended by Bob when he discusses reason as a mental tool. The author is Price Hitchett. Now, this here that you see right there is perhaps the third time I'm saying this, and I will keep saying it. If you are serious about developing your mental muscles, watch this recording every day for a month. In fact, I'm going to make it available. You won't just see something in here that you didn't see before. You will see something in you that was not there before. That's because you will start operating from a higher level of awareness. And you are also creating a new habit. You're doing this every day, remember? It's a new thinking habit, thinking. With your higher awareness, you will start guarding your thoughts. You will begin to realize that much of what has been going on at this moment has not been beneficial, and you will let it go. Now, I want to hear about you or from you. on the subject of reason and of thinking? Any opinions? Let me see. There's something here in the chat. I repeat out loud so that I can handle situations that I cannot handle. Certainly. It's a great, it's like an affirmation. It's a technique, it's a strategy that you use. And that's something that is encouraged. And thank you for that participation. If no one else has anything else, either put in the chat or raise your hand, question, comments. We're still going to go on through each faculty. I'm going to pause after the faculty and I'm going to encourage some participation. No matter what you do, whether it's on the chat or whether you ask the question in person and voice, it's going to help. It's going to change things in your mind. You will know what I mean. In fact, some of us, even I, have had that issue in the past where I have something that I want to say. Have something that I want to share, and I don't because I feel that maybe it's not good enough or whatever, and that happens to me. But the fact is that I've learned that no matter what we think about what we have to say, somebody will always have value to take from it. So that's why it's important sometimes to share our thoughts. And so I thank you for that affirmation that somebody else can use. You've just provided value to somebody, and anyone could use this. I could use it myself. I repeat out loud so that I can handle situations that I can not handle. All right, so let's share the screen. Here's another one. Talk to yourself from the, in my glasses here. Talk to yourself from the heart every day. Whoa, that's deep already. That's your emotion. Thank you. All right, let's do this. Let's talk about perception. I like to relate perception to the law of polarity, also known as the law of opposites. It's a law of the universe. And there are few. We could actually do a webinar on these, the laws of the universe. Everything has an opposite. There can be a hot without a cold, a down without an up, a left without a right, and the list goes on. Now think about this. There cannot be a bad without a good, or a wrong without a right. This mental muscle, our perception, can also be strengthened. We have the ability to change our perception. In other words, we are capable of changing our reality, the way that we look at things. Author Wayne Dwyer puts it perfectly. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Be sure to note that your paradigm is likely controlling your existing perception. And if you are perceiving something negatively, you are also entertaining negative thoughts and emotions. It seems obvious. You've seen how your thoughts, though, communicate with your body. Think of the thought that you got that got your heart beating faster, regardless of what is going on out in your world. No one can take away your mind. I'm paraphrasing Viktor Frankl. He's a Holocaust survivor who wrote Man in Search for Meaning. Very good book to add to your library. So the strategy is to think of your own well-being. You're thinking of what your thoughts are doing to your body. So you're thinking of your well-being, what your thoughts are doing to your body, especially now that you are more aware of what it's doing to yourself physically. We just went through that. Now, Mary Morrissey says in a program called Magic in Your Mind, because nothing's bad unless you think it's bad. So look for anything that could be good. And this could be the most disastrous thing that you can think of. But just hear me out. She offers this piece of advice as a strategy. Schedule your panic. Think of it as a button, a pause button. It could be the panic, fear, or anger button. You hit the pause button at the moment of fear, anger, or panic. You're going to come back to it in 2 or 3 days. And in the meantime, you will look for the good in whatever is happening. When you come back to it in 3 days, then you decide if you want to panic, fear, anger button. This is a strategy. I'll speak to you about in a bit about Magic in Your Mind. There, Mary tells the story of the 2 couples that were interviewed by reporters after both their homes were reduced to rubble by Californian wildfires. One couple were in tears because they were telling the reporter that they had lost everything. It was heartbreaking, actually, to hear that. The other couple were relieved. This is a different couple, a different house, same reporters. The other couple was relieved that they still had everything, that their family, they had their family and the children. The rubble for them was just stuff that could be replaced. So that's two different perceptions. Here I am now going to go to the next faculty, but not before hearing from you. Let me see what we have in the chat or any raised buttons. Anything on perception? Fear and anger are normal emotions that we should all have, but we need to balance them. Thank you for that. I love that participation. Somebody can take away from that. Absolutely. Perception. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Let's go to imagination. Napoleon Hill, in his book Think and Grow Rich, he wrote the imagination is the workshop of the mind. You and I can create anything that we can imagine. Our imagination is a perfect example of one of those higher faculties that became weaker through time. Think about this for most of us. When we were children, we had perfect imaginations. We would run around and clearly see ourselves as astronauts, firefighters, ballerinas, doctors. As we grew older, we were to stop daydreaming and to focus on reality, our physical reality, that is. Who ever heard that saying? We need to be realistic. Napoleon Hill also said, imagination is the most marvelous, miraculous, inconceivably powerful force. It's where everything starts. So let me stop here for a minute and let's go through a quick little exercise. I'd like you to think of your front door. What do you see in the screen of your mind? You don't see the word door. You don't see the word door. You see a picture of your front door. What if I ask you to think of a car? What do you see in the screen of your mind? You see a picture of a car. If I ask you to think of a dog, you see a picture of a dog. You probably can tell me the breed of the dog. You don't see the words, you see a picture. So we think in pictures. I just wanted to bring that to you before continuing on with the slides. We have already established that every thought is generating signals across our bodies and beyond. And it is pictures that we are seeing. Everything that we have created as human beings started with a picture in our minds. It started in someone's imagination. When we think of creating our new life by design, it is with this marvelous faculty that it happens. Anything that we can conceive, we can achieve. I like to quote Napoleon Hill because he spoke quite a bit about the power of our imagination. In fact, he established that we have two types of imagination. He said we have a synthetic imagination and a creative imagination. I'm not going to speak much about the synthetic imagination, except that all it's doing is drawing from existing creations to improve on things. Creative imagination, on the other hand, draws from what Bob likes to call infinite intelligence. It has many names, and anyone who is interested in either science or technology, science or theology, will have a name for it. All of them are acceptable. And the point I'm trying to focus on is that we have the power. We have the power to create for ourselves for ourselves anything at all, whether it exists already or not. Thomas Edison did it with the light bulb, and so did the Wright brothers with the first flying planes. You and I are no different than them. Now, make sure that you guard your thoughts, though. Most often, we are imagining what we don't want to happen. We must gain back control from our old paradigm and start the process of creation, the creation of the life we really want. So, how do you develop your imagination? You write things down. You see, writing causes you to think, and your thoughts create a picture. The more you write it, the stronger the picture is going to get. These are all strategies I'm giving you, right? And as you strengthen that picture, the more real it becomes. Soon enough, you will have reprogrammed your paradigm with that new picture. And your body is going to be vibrating in harmony with it, with that new picture. And this can only manifest itself through your physical body in the form of your results. Remember that R? Make sure that whatever it is that you are writing is the life of your dreams. Don't hold back on anything. And don't let anybody tell you that you cannot have it, let alone tell you that you cannot imagine it. All right, let's go into the next one. Intuition. Okay. Let's see, what do we have? Let's have some participation here on any of the faculties that we've spoken about. Raise hands, put in the chat. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes here to gather your thoughts, write things down, and bring something out here. This is about developing your higher mental faculties, and participating goes beyond what we could possibly imagine. There it is. There's a raised hand, and it is Jerry. So Jerry, I believe nobody else will be able to see your video, but they will be able to hear you. All I need to do is go to is find you here and allow you to speak. There you go.
Hello?
Yes.
Hi. Hello, everyone. I just wanted to say that when I was younger, I told in my video, I'm 55 years old now, but when I was younger in my my late middle teens, on every birthday, I didn't do any New Year's resolution, but every year I wanted to be better. I was into self-betterment at 15, 16. And I used to write down a list of things I wanted to accomplish by my next birthday. And, by writing it down, I used to accomplish at least 70, 80% of what I said I would do. But over the years, as life goes on, I got married, had children, got divorced, and just life took over. And I don't do that. And I find I'm behind, like I'm struggling. Like if things need to be done. And when you noted about imagination, writing things down, I think it is a powerful tool. I mean, now people call it a vision board. But before that vision board, I used to write, I just have a notebook, and by my next birthday, I would tick off, yes, I did accomplish this, I did do that. And it was so fulfilling. And then like my next birthday, I would rewrite what I wanted to accomplish. But it was also about self-betterment. If I had a temper, work on your temper, work on things, whatever it was, so that I could be self-actualized, so to speak. But, life happened and,
And then you stopped writing it?
I stopped for a while just because of life. No time. Time is a big thing, which I think a lot of people in North America, it's a fast track with more technology, that's more requirements from us from work. And it's just a rat race. You're just going, and at least that's what happened to me. And over the years, I've suffered from bouts of depression, which, hasn't been a good thing. So sometimes having a positive thought, I can go, for months, years, but it can just hit me like that out of the blue. And it's, to get out of it and having the positive thoughts, it's not easy. And, so that's my story.
to have the positive thought.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy, but writing it down helped you.
When I was younger, like I haven't done it in a long time. I started again, um, maybe 10 years ago. I started again, but not consistent or not even because I used to read it. I just didn't write it down, but I had it on my walls. So I would be seeing it all, I would be reading it. And like I said, people have vision boards today. They call it vision boards, but I would constantly be reading my list of what I wanted to accomplish by my next birthday. And I was surprised. I was in university at the time, and I graduated, and I was looking for a job, and I needed a car, and I was by my next birthday. It's like, oh my gosh, I did this, I did this, I did. So then my next year was to get a job, to buy a car, and I accomplished all that, and I was traveling. It was just astonishing. Um, the power of writing it down and reading it and seeing it over and over and over. Um, so I think there is some merit to that, which I haven't done in 20, 30 years. And like I said, life took over.
Yes, I love that you shared that story. Now it comes out as Jerry, the name, but I'm not too sure if that is actually your name.
Yes, that's
But
me.
oh, okay, okay. Well, thank you for that. It's very powerful what you just shared, and I've heard my mentor Bob Proctor actually say that some of the things that we want in life, write them 100 times a day. And I think to myself, 100 times a day, who has the time to write 100 times per day? But yeah, it has an effect on our bodies, and it has that term neuroplasticity. It makes us think in what we're writing down, and it strengthens us, that group of cells in our brain. It increases the amplitude of vibration of a certain group of cells in our brains, and then with time it becomes a habit. So that success on a daily basis is habitual because we're doing it. But the problem for most of us, even for me, I went through that where you would write it for a few days because you're very excited, but then you stop, and then it's hard to get back in, and that's because our paradigm is pulling us back. But thank you so much, Jerry. I appreciate for that. I appreciate that participation, and I'm sure many here also appreciate that participation. I hear Kaylee says, I also use Pinterest for vision boards. You mentioned vision boards, Jerry. I have one myself too. And I try to put it in a place where I have to see it every day. If you put it, like I had it in my closet in the past where I used to open, but then I kind of dismissed it as part of the background. But I heard of a story of a gentleman who would put it in front of the television and who would say, any time that I want to watch television, I have to put my goals to the side. So that's an interesting technique to look at your vision board all the time. Imagination definitely becomes reality with effort. It is important not to give up. Absolutely, Mirai. Thank you so much. You're contributing a lot today. Okay, so I love this. And I'm sure many of you have benefited from this participation from both Jerry and Mirai. Let's move on to one of my favorites. That's intuition. In fact, I'm not even going to show PowerPoint on that because I just want to speak from it from the heart. It's one that I hold dear to my heart, and I wanted to talk to you directly about it as opposed to through the slides. I had neglected intuition all my life. It seemed like it was so far away from my reach that it didn't even register in me the idea that I could have a developed intuition. I had heard people talking about it. That gut feeling, even the hunches, and even heard others point to these gut feelings and hunches as the right thing to do whenever it was time to make a decision, and that decision would always be the right one. It was only when I started to study from Bob and Mary Morrissey, that I realized two important things about intuition. Number one, it is not a sense. You often hear people saying that intuition is a sixth sense, but it is not a sense. It is a higher mental faculty, and it can be developed just like any other one of our mental faculties. Number two, intuition is the one that will always be there for us to guide us in the right direction when all the other ones seem elusive. Using it for your benefit requires the awareness that you are working with a higher form of intelligence. Although I understand and follow diverse set of beliefs, it is always science that allows me to grasp these concepts. I spoke about frequencies or vibrations traveling through space. These frequencies turn into images that we see with our eyes, that we hear with our ears. Now, we must understand that there are an infinite number of frequencies in the universe. Some of them we know of, and we use them for our own benefit, like communication frequencies for our cell phones. Think about this. There's music in your room right now and movies playing. All you need to do is tune to that frequency with your radio or your TV, and there you have it. In fact, you you take a very powerful microscope, and you will see that our own bodies are pretty much a whole bunch of elements vibrating at different speeds, also known as different frequencies. So, just as frequencies are traveling to our ears, our entire body is also able to detect this information, and it is advising us what to do all the time. The problem is that most of us are not listening. Today, we know countless successful individuals that openly pointed to intuition as a key component of their success. I could mention Albert Einstein, Thomas Edison, and Steve Jobs, just from the top of my head. Now, Bob Proctor and Mary Morrissey were the ones that gave me the base of knowledge to develop my own intuition. And it is simpler than I could have ever imagined. If you were to ask Bob, what do I do to develop my intuition? He would likely answer, you simply need to be quiet and listen. In other words, you need to quiet your mind. Now, if you've never tried to do this, and even if you have, you will likely realize that your mind is nothing but quiet. It is constantly going on back and forth with a gazillion thoughts about the past, present, and future, your to do list, the things they said, the guilt, the resentments. And yet, deep down, there is that infinite resource that we all have available to tap into. And we have to do, like, all we have to do is let it. So, how do you quiet your mind? The best way I know how to do this is through meditation, a specific form of meditation. The one I use is guided, and it slowly makes me aware of every part of my body, one by one, and instructs me to relax these parts. About a third of the way, your entire body should feel totally relaxed. And at all times, you are being directed to let all thoughts go. It takes about 20 minutes. And what I would recommend is that you do this at least once per day, twice or more if you can. I've done it twice or more sometimes. Now, you can find tons of resources out there on different types of and styles, but this technique is particularly, in particular, it also contains all the elements required to work with your other faculties. If you're interested in the one that I use, put it in the chat or send me an email. Like I said, I'll read the chat and I'll send you a link. Let's see what we have here. Bev, thank you for this. Watching YouTube trials make you think of better ways to accomplish reality. Yeah, watching YouTube can be a very full power to a very powerful tool. Any comments on intuition? Does anybody experience intuition consciously? Does anybody feel guided from their intuition? Has anybody followed their gut before and known that because of this, they've been right or they've made the right decision? All right, okay. Hold on, Jerry. You're good now.
Okay. Actually, I had the intuition right before I was getting married not to, but I did anyways. There was just too much at stake. Invitations set out, family flown, already. And I remember going into my reception feeling, what did I do? But it's too late. I'm at my reception. What did I do? But I was just praying, like I said, this will work out. And I was married for 18 years and I was in it. I was committed and I was going to stay there if it hadn't deteriorated to the way it did. But I had that, you know, prior, like maybe a few weeks to getting married, like, I don't know. And I didn't listen to, and I've had that regret all my life.
So you realized that your intuition was telling you the right thing,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
you didn't listen to it.
No.
And we do that all the time. And yet, interestingly enough, we can develop it so that that voice becomes stronger, and we can recognize it, just like the voice of our best friend. Mary Morrissey says that. Bob says to quiet the mind so that we can learn to feel those vibrations. Feeling is a word that we invented for how our body is vibrating, and we can sense those vibrations. Mary Morrissey, she yeah, the thought of what Mary Morrissey said skips my mind right now, but when I remember, I'll mention it again. They both have techniques for intuition, and you can oh yeah, she says that that voice actually gets stronger and stronger, and you can recognize it, and it's there for you all the time. And like I said, many people in the past have used it openly. Thomas Edison, you get ideas for technology, you get the right decisions. It's just awesome. I experience that every single day now that I've been working on it. So I'm going to move on now. And thanks again, Jerry, for that. I think I have a a text here from Megan. Is there a direct link between feelings and intuition? How do you separate the two? Emotional intelligence is not always part of the decision making process. Emotions can often be flawed and steer us in the wrong direction due to our perception and limited ability to overcome our emotional surges. So there's a lot of complexity here, Megan, and I'm gonna I think Jerry, did you raise your hand because you wanted to continue saying something, or are you done? Let me just uh I'm still learning about this
Yes.
tech. There
Okay.
you are.
Yeah, I actually had another comment or something I wanted to share. Again, in our day-to-day lives, I guess, look, we're talking about quieting the mind, and maybe other people have had these similar experiences. Like I would be driving, and I would my regular route, and for some reason, I would feel turn left, don't go this way. And I didn't listen to that. And then there's an accident. And then I'm late for work. And I should have just turned. And I tell my daughter this all the time. She's a perfectionist overachiever, and she second guessed herself. And again, in exams, the first answer usually is the correct one. And when you start, I guess, inviting noise, that's when confusion come, and you're quieting that. I just call that inner voice that's telling you. And in exams, and it would happen. She would have the right answer, but then she starts, externalizing stuff and erases the answer. And then when the professor corrects it, it's like, oh, I had the right answer, but I second guessed myself. And the first answer was the correct one. But then we start inviting external questions, and we're doubting that initial, that also gut reaction. Or like children, and that is, I'm sorry, I don't want to take too much time, but with children, and I told myself when I became a parent, because my culture is that, if someone wanted to take a baby, or politeness, you have to go hug somebody, even if you didn't feel good about it. But out of respect, you had to go embrace the elder. And I said I wouldn't do that to my children because sometimes kids don't feel comfortable with someone and we push them, no, kiss so and so and hug so and so. And the child has just their natural, like, I don't feel good, and they don't want, and they'll cry. And I've seen parents, their child is crying and they still have the stranger, hold their child, and the child is screaming that they don't want to be in the arms of this other person. And I say all that because one of my sister-in-laws, she was not a very nice person, and my children could sense her lack of love and didn't want to be around her. And I thank God that because of my own personal experience, I didn't want to push them. If they didn't want to embrace somebody, it's okay. When they're comfortable, they'll embrace the person if they ever become comfortable during the event. But I've seen parents do that, like, go kiss so and so, go hug your auntie or your uncle, and the child is holding on to the parent, no, and the parent is pushing no out of respect, but the child, doesn't feel right, and we have to respect that intuition. And I think even as, like you're saying, as children, we in our actions can tell them, don't trust that feeling. And it's when they meet bad people in life, they don't know whether to trust, whether, going into a car with someone, or, an unsafe person, because we've told them, don't trust that, because it doesn't matter if you feel that way, do it anyways, hug this person, sit on this person's lap. And I'm very emphatic about it because, like I said, my culture, we were forced. If there's 20 people in a room and I walked in as a child, I have to kiss all 20 people. And some of them were creepy, but I had to do it anyways because, I'll get a spanking if I get home. Like, I was disrespectful. I didn't kiss Uncle so-and-so or friend so-and-so. And I said I would never do that to my children. Just say good morning. But like I said, children have that naturally to stay away sometime from not a shady person. Anyway, that's all I want to say. You could comment. Maybe I'm wrong, but it was
No,
just.
yeah, yeah. I think you know exactly how this works, and the beautiful thing about this is that we can develop it so that it works for us continuously. Like, we have the ability to feel the truth. But we learn to distrust it. We through life, like society just teaches us to forget about this. But it's there for us, and it's we ask a question and the answer is there for us right away. So the important part here is that we're here to develop it, and there are techniques to develop it. We've spoken about a couple of them. And yes, I saw here on the text, on the chat, that I'm going to be sharing this. Well-intentioned people have stronger intuition, and that is true. And can you please share with which meditation techniques you use? Yes, I have. I'm going to share a link for you, and anybody else, just talk to me directly about it, whether it's on the chat or by email. Is there a direct link between feelings and intuition? So that is, intuition is a feeling. Okay, from my understanding, my study of it, it's just like when we hear something. Those are vibrations going into our ear, invisible frequencies going into our ears and vibrating in our drums, and then that converts into sound. And same thing with the eyes. The eyes are looking at light vibrations that are coming in, and we're interpreting images. These vibrations, they're all around us. And there are infinite frequencies. We are able to feel that beyond our physical senses. In other words, beyond our eyes, our ears, our face, all our physical senses. And we interpret these with our conscious mind. We use our intellectual factors to actually interpret what is coming, what we're feeling. And so this is kind of like how it works. It takes a little bit of, it doesn't actually take that long to start experiencing it. You just have to do the right things that you need, the right exercises on a daily basis. And this is where you have to put a little bit of effort, is commit yourself for, say, 30 days or even 90 days to do a practice every day. For example, the meditation practice, learn how to quiet the mind and learn to strengthen the voice. People live with their emotions by intuitions are special. Hold on. People live with their emotions by intuitions are special feelings that not everyone has. So yeah, not everyone has the faculty developed, but the good news is that we all have the ability to develop it. Yes, the ego speaks loudly. Your intuition speaks softly. That's why we learn to silence intuition, because of our ego. And our ego is usually due to external influences. Love it. People can strengthen their intuition to get rid of the bad emotions they feel subconsciously. See, all of this participation is helping everyone in here. Somebody would be touched by some of these comments, if not everyone. So let's move on to the remaining higher faculty, memory. And the will, actually, there's two more. So I need to accelerate this a little bit. Uh, by the way, you're here today. I want you to know that you are entitled to 15 to 20-minute free consultation with me on the material covered today or beyond. I want to do this because you are here learning. You're among the few who are taking action and investing in yourself. You are the reason why I'm here today. So send me an email to book it or put it in the chat. In fact, I'm going to put in my calendar so you can book it. It's about half an hour, free. All right. Okay, so let's talk about memory. And here's the most important idea that I have been exposed to when it comes to memory is that we all have perfect memories. You hear someone say, "Oh, I forgot. I'm not good with names." Here's a fact. We didn't forget. We simply chose not to remember. Developing our memory starts with the awareness that we all have perfect memories. Just like all our other faculties, they're all perfect. Then we do what it takes, using the will, for example, which I will speak about in a bit, to develop it. And then use it for the countless benefits this gift has to offer. There's a technique. It's a, very simple. But it's a technique in itself, and you can start practicing it right away. Called ridiculous association. So it attaches literally a ridiculous idea to the thing that you want to remember. Remember what I said. We don't forget. We simply choose not to remember. If we want to remember, we attach ridiculous association to the thing that we want to remember. Magic in Your Mind, which is the program that I've been talking about, digs deeper into this. Also in this program, Mary introduced me to one of the most interesting concepts that I've encountered, the idea of future memory. This concept involves taking yourself into the future in your mind, of course, your imagination, which is limitless, your ideal future self. You're painting a picture in your mind with your imagination of your ideal future self, and then remembering the things that you did today that led you there. I'm going to leave it at that because it's an interesting concept in itself. And when you study about personal growth and mindset and etc., you will find that whatever you want to be in life, whatever you want to do, whether it's happiness, health, physical prosperity, you have to become today where you want to be. You have to go from that place and not go from where you are today. So moving on from, okay, you know what? And any thoughts on that? Anyone want to comment on that before we move on to the last, which is the will? Put it in the chat. If not, we have to move on anyway, pretty quickly. We could do it at the end as well. So last but not least, we have the will. Now, this is not about willpower, that popular idea of willpower. You often hear someone say that it takes willpower to do the things that we know we need to do. If willpower was really effective, all New Year resolutions would come true. Willpower, however, suggests that we have to force things, but in reality, we don't need to force anything in life. We just need to work with the laws of the universe and then just let things happen. It's majestic once you start to experience this. I've experienced it. You'll see what I mean by that after you read the book or hear the audio that I suggested earlier. The U squared. If you didn't, just it's U and then the two squared. It's like an exponential. The will is your ability to stay laser focused on a single idea, a single goal. It's concentration. Think of it as concentration. And that you concentrate on it until you have accomplished it. So let's think back to the signals in our brain and how our thoughts affect everything. You are focused on a single idea. You are giving, when you are focused on a single idea, you are giving energy to a certain group of cells in your brain. The more you stay focused, you are increasing the amplitude of vibration in those groups of cells, making them stronger with time. And the more you do this, the stronger they get, and in turn, strengthen their interaction with the rest of your body and your environment. Soon enough, you'll be attracting the things you need into your life to get exactly what you have been focusing on. And this happens seemingly without effort. But don't get me wrong, you do have to put a little effort. Yet that effort is as simple as staying exposed to these ideas on a daily basis. It's that simple. How many of us actually do this? I can tell you that for 5 years, I drive a lot. I'm in sales, and I do. I had the whole entire province, and I used to drive a lot. And I had this stuff playing in my audio every single day. And that's what we need to do. It's like exercising. And then eventually it becomes a habit, and then success is just a habit for us. So here's a simple exercise for you to develop your will. Simple. Pick a dot, look around your room and look for a dot on the wall, and then stay focused on it for a long period of time until you become one with it. As your mind gets distracted, let it happen, and then gently come back to the dot. You can do this with a candlelight as well. This develops your will, your ability to concentrate. So we've spoken about our 6 faculties. So quickly now, before we conclude for today, I want to share with you a couple of things that you can start doing right now to get started on strengthening your higher faculties. And this is for free. Watch or listen to this webinar over and over for 30 days. Study it and take notes. I guarantee you, you'll thank me for this. I will make it available. Just email me or put it in the chat if you want to access it. You can also take my offer to dig deeper. I will also be posting videos on both YouTube and Facebook on all this stuff. It's short ones, like 30-second, maybe 1 minute, 2 minutes. And if you're subscribed, for example, to the YouTube channel or the Facebook or the Instagram, then as they post, you will get a notification, and then you just listen to it, and then you're exposed to it for 30 days. So I'm going to take clips of this webinar and I'm going to send them every day. Boom, boom. So that's something that you could do. It's easy, or it's simple, but it's not easy. Are you going to do it? That's my suggestion. So you can stay in touch with these ideas as you develop your own mental muscles. Now, if you are like some of us who need some assistance and really want to get serious about this, reach out to me for one-on-one coaching, or also if you're part of a group or team you would like to share this with, reach out to me for private webinars or even live on-site seminars. I'm open to anything. Feel free to reach out to me by email, put in the chat. You have my Calendly. And I guess quickly before we move on, I'm just going to share what this would mean for you. I mean, there's something there's a couple of things that you could do here. This is the free stuff, and I'm going to share a slide with you again. And I'm going to I'll share this quickly with you. I've put in here. I gave all this stuff names. I gave this one here all in. Then I put this as recommended, and then better yet. So I'm actually suggesting to you to go with the cheaper version here. I'm saying if you go all in for that price that you see there, I will literally we will have one-on-one time every single day for 6 weeks. Now, I'm saying that you don't really need that. What I would recommend instead is to get 1 hour per week for 6 weeks. And better yet, no coaching from me, and you can do the Magic in Your Mind program yourself. This Magic in Your Mind is not even it doesn't come from me. This is Bob Proctor and Mary Morrissey conducting a 6-week coaching program, which exposes you for 6 weeks every single day to all of the mental faculties. And I can send you a link which you could use, and that's what it would cost, $752 with 15 cents Canadian. And you can do this on your own. You just need to commit yourself to do it every single day. All of the exercises, they give you exercises every single day, and they give you audio, and you listen to it every single day for 6 weeks. So we're talking a little bit more than 30 days. So by then you should start creating some kind of a thinking habit or a muscle mental development habit. Now, there are other services available. Like I said, one-on-one custom online coaching. It could be online, it could be group online coaching, private webinars for groups or teams, or in-person seminar and coaching for groups, teams, or individuals if you know anyone. And then free, you got the 30 minutes one-on-one consultation on Zoom, which I gave you the link, and just subscribe to the social media, to my social media. You can find that on my website at themindsetinvestor.ca, www.themindsetinvestor.ca. And that is it. That is it. We are at 8:28. So I said this was going to be from 7 to 8:30, and we're right on time. But if any one of you wants to continue the conversation for a little bit, I will be more than happy to stay here for a few minutes. If you have any questions, and if not, then I hope that you have an amazing night and that you have an amazing life. And if you do this, I'd love to hear from you. Like if you do this stuff on a daily basis, I'd love to hear from you. I'm also going to create a Facebook group. So like-minded individuals, like you see the kind of conversations that go on here, these kind of conversations may not happen outside or let's say within your social circle, and maybe you want just a private group where you can have these types of conversations. That private Facebook group is something that I want to create. I just need enough interest from everyone to participate to so that we can make it worthwhile. So that being said, I can see thank yous, and I thank you as well. You're very welcome. I love to teach this information, especially because of what it has done for me, and I would love for the entire planet to be exposed to this information if it's possible. So that being said, thank you again for coming, and hopefully we'll talk again very soon.